Right. Hello there. All right. Good morning, everybody. If you're tuning in now, there is planned explosions in Kiev, Kiev region, at least not Kiev city, but there's lots of air raids going on at the moment. There is a ton of planes up over Europe, a ton of planes over the UK. Um, we have one on the border of Belarus over here. Um, just starting here, might be doing some round routes. I don't know. It is descending. Might actually just be landing. Oh, look at this guy. The one over here who's been doing some circles. I think that's just a. Yeah, okay, that is Polish military, but that might be border guard as well. So yeah, we got this guy going circles around Kaliningrad. Let's keep on that. We got another one who's been circling around Belarus all day. Look at that. Another one maybe coming in to replace that one. We got a RC-135. Ton of planes. Let's keep an eye on this one then. It's coming back now towards the place, so we will be keeping an eye on that. We got another C5 Super Galaxy here. Not a ton of planes over the U.S. It usually picks up during the day. We got what? Oh shit! We got 4 135s right here, heading somewhere. That's something. We got Goldmaster. Nothing too intense. Moment at least. Yeah. I'm bringing the update from znpp right now. That's what I've heard. Can you hear me over the music? That'll begin. Turn it down for now. Alright. So, as of what I've heard, the Russian commander on site, Majgen Valley, guy's a long name, Valeria Vashlev, openly bragged that they had rigged the SNMP to blow up if they were threatened with losing it. So, as of my understanding, now this is if this said MPP was going to blow, and the only way they were going to do it is if they had the threat of losing it, which means what they're trying to say is they were going to blow it if Ukraine was to take their land. You know, if they were to take the said MPP, that's when they would want to blow it. So they're not going to blow it as the positions are there now. I think at least that's what the reports are saying. But we will continue to keep an eye on that. And yeah, so of course it is nighttime in the USA time right now. It is quite late. It is well, it's late. It's pretty early morning, so people are probably gonna head to work at this time or heading to work in the mornings right now. I'm gonna go get some food and we'll leave this up for you guys so that you can enjoy the stream as I go do other stuff. Uh, we're not seeing anything on the radiation map, only small spikes. This one's been doing it up and down for days, so not seeing too much other than the usual factors, but we will be keeping an eye on everything that's going on. So with that, I am going to be leaving you with this task force music, and then I'm going to be going to get some food and stuff like that, and I'll be back later today. Yes, so have a good time and enjoy the stream. Have some food, have some whatever, make yourself comfortable, and we will be back later on today. I'm gonna maybe switch out the music here. Like that, right? Yeah, that's better. Hello for anyone tuning in. I am about to be getting out of here because I need food and I am famished. So if anyone tuning in, hello. I get you the recap of what's the situation is. There's generals and stuff people saying that they wouldn't want to blow this plant if they had a threat of losing it, which they have a very much threat of losing the plant. So the plant at the moment is, if they're going to lose it, would be in the case that it would be in the case that they have sort of, I guess, forgotten it. What am I saying? No, I'm not saying. I meant if the Ukrainians trying to push it and take it, that's what they want to blow it. That's what they've been saying, and that's what they want to say. So, yeah, things are going on. We got Kherson region mass media reports of explosions. So I'll leave that up for you guys here as well. I will see you later. Bye-bye. Sorry there, Wayman. Hello, good morning. I'm gonna be live, but I'm gonna go get some food and stuff like that, and then I'll come back and bring you guys the news and all that. But it's gonna be an hour or something like that. But good morning to you, Raymond. Hope you're having a good morning. Yeah, the Danish king is back, baby. He is back. That was a great intro, right? That was a great intro. Really made sense, and it was fun, and it was hilarious. Anyways, as we are watching, a lot of stuff's going on. That's 6 AVACs Sands reporting, and that's a lot of planes. That's a lot of planes. Especially when we're talking about this early in the morning. It's very early for the US to be flying 6 AVACs up in the morning. I don't know, was it Europe or America you're talking about there? Probably can't hear me right now. Can you hear me better? Hello. Hello. What's that? I turn off. Pull up flight trim. See what that says. Any news on the znpp? Okay, thanks. Yeah, you can hear me. That's good. Alright, good. Swedish Air Force. A lot of 135s are up over your. Oh, we got. What we have here, we got a we got an E3 from Luxembourg. E3 from Luxembourg right there, out in the North Sea. That's something. That's something. Is that a river joint? Yeah, that's a river joint right there. Oh God, that's a big time playtime right now. What's this one? I saw the five tail over here, like I think it was, what was it, like 4K4, not K4, sorry, with a 435 strats, whatever. It was 4 of them on the west coast over here, and like flying down. 2 more now? Oh, I can't see that. So I have one hell of a tracking system there. My thing is not showing it up right now. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Try to, at least. Well, Vancouver Islands. It's over here? Or here? You gotta be over here. Oh, wait. Wait. There they are. Yeah. Oh, I'm stupid. There they are. Hold up. Let's bring one up real quick. It's gonna. Yes, 2 more over Europe. There's a lot of them up right now. I'm gonna check something real quick. I'm gonna do this and do that. Hold on 1 second. Do like a multi-select thing here. Didn't I just... What the hell? There we go. Yeah, I don't know why Flight Trader's acting like this right now. That's great. Great stuff. Just all around. Anyways, we know it's there. We know they're there, you know, so that is something. They were actually there all the time. I think it's just because I was zoomed out, so I couldn't see it. But there's more north. There's one up here, I think. She said before, there's one. There's a Hercules up there. And we got one over, that's a Globemaster. And then we got some over Europe. We got one over Romania. No, that's River Joint. 2 over Germany. And both of them, actually no, 1 over Germany and another river joint. We got 2 river joints up over Europe at the moment. That's something. That's definitely something you don't see every day. Oh yeah. Huh. Oh, there is actually two over Germany. There's two K, two 100 and 135 over Europe right now, and a Hercules over Germany alone. That is something. You saw free over. Yeah. I think you're right. There is about free, and I think Forte 10 is also up. Is that not shown here? Forte 10 does not get shown here. There's another. Is that a drone or a plane right there? Definitely a plane. So the thing about. So we got Forte 10 up right now. Forte 10, for anybody who does not know, it's a drone. It's been circling around here almost since the start of the war. So nothing uncommon. Well, it's not uncommon to see it, but it's certainly something we want to keep an eye out, see where it's going. That's an Airbus probably. Don't know why I know that from now on. They've just been flying back and forward to the same days now. That's the Forte 10 right there. One second. Need over Turkey and Spain. Oh yeah, that one. Oh, that one. Oh, that one. Oh, that one. Oh. Oh. Well, there it is. There's an E3 over France. It might have been in Turkey. That's Spain. Sorry. So there's 3 E3s up in Europe. We got border guards going crazy, flying back and forwards at the Belarusian border. We got tons of plane up over Germany and over the UK. Still early morning, but we still have a good amount of planes for this early in the morning in the US. So something has definitely said, oh yeah, it's a very big waiting game. You got that right. Something's definitely said, oh hey, guys, some shit is about to go down, and you guys are watching it. So, Denmark, yay! That's Danish military right there. Come on. Nah, that's not impressive. Is it? Oh, yes, it is impressive. It's great. Indian military, not anything. Yeah, we got river joints and we got E-freeze. Haven't seen the Doomsday plane, but I have an eye, right? Gonna keep an eye on all of that right now, at least. And we got tons of planes over Europe. I have not seen the Doomsday plane. It landed in Tucson yesterday, so at least that's what I think San or Galley. I think it was Galley. Some said about that. So stuff is certainly going on. What's this? Is a Jordan plane for this time, except for the tankers over the canal. Yeah, it does look as if it is normal. Yeah, except the weird placement of these tankers. There's 4 of them heading north at the same time. Oh, free. That one's just turned off its transponder. We know there's 4. Maybe even be more. Oh wait, no, it's there. Okay, but we know that there's a lot of planes up, at least over Europe. But this is definitely something. It's not something you see every day. So whatever is happening there, it's certainly, and it's probably going to Alaska, whatever it's doing, but it's either it's transporting something or escorting something. It's getting ready for something. It could be drills. We don't know. Each drills comes up, and sometimes you don't really, or you're not really aware of the drills and all that. We got a river joint has been just circling around Kaliningrad like all day. So shit's happening. We got explosions in Sakadovsk city. Air raids and have turned down. There was some air raids up earlier, a lot of air raids. So certainly some less air raids alerts, and I believe for now we seem to be somewhat. Oh, okay. So we got Sumer District. We got another explosion just now. Reports of it at least. Let's look into that. See if there's anything we can get that up. It's weird to say that you want to look for everything else, but at the same time you don't really care because you got a whole nuclear power plant that's about to blow, and you don't really care about all the other ones. I mean, is that weird to say? I don't think it is. I don't think it's weird to say that you're looking for something. Forte 10 wasn't up all day yesterday, but it's up now, and it just gotten a little bit of a detour here. Not seen that for a long time, at least. We had the we had everything that was going on. Holds staff meeting on situation at Zelensky holds staff meeting on situation at znpp. Okay. I guess we could get you guys the Ukraine front update. Let's watch Dennis.
Hello, my friends, and welcome.
Hello, my
friends.
friends.
Frontlines review. The situation near to Antonovsky Bridge is standstill. The fog of war doesn't give us lots of the information. The latest, we know that Ukrainian armed forces are still keeping their positions across the river. Not a long time ago, Russia tried to use the Spetsnaz forces to attack our guys from behind. Russians were met with a heavy resistance, and they lost everyone in their counterattack. Because of the very old boats that they had.
The thing you gotta know about Dennis is he's from Ukraine. He's a Ukrainian pilot. But and this he is Oh, this. What the hell's Ohio? Oh, yeah, there it is. Well, there it is. As I was talking about it. Oh, and look what's gone dark now, guys. Look who's gone dark. Who's gone dark now? I don't see them anymore. I see the tankers that's going up over here. They're not there anymore. You got the Doomsday playing up. I will say I've never seen it this early. So that is something. The river joint here. Okay, well, we got Forte 10 and River and the U.S. Doomsday play. You never get that whole, like, do I know when the Russian Doomsday plays out? We don't really know that. It doesn't really show up. But we'll look for that. Any reports of that at least.
At the proper time. As for the Iskander ballistic missile strike that Russia conducted 2 days ago, according to our information, there were no losses from the Ukrainian side, but part of the bridge construction was destroyed. So what is the next step for the Ukrainian side in this area? The next step is to spread the controlled territory to get as much land as possible, and after that to put maybe pontoon bridges to make it easier for the heavy vehicles to cross the Dnieper River. Without it, the further movement of Ukrainian armed forces more to the south is unrealistic. Well, still we may try to get the Aleshki village under control, but for that we need the artillery support, and for now we have it. But to move further to the south, we
Some good
need
noodles I
armored
got here.
vehicles, heavy tanks,
I'm eating noodles.
etc.
Good
For that
noodles.
we need bridges 100%. If you check the Russian defense here in this area, it is not as significant as in Zaporizhia. There is just one big line near to Crimean border, but if you look at Zaporizhia, oh my god, it's very strong. But still Ukraine is capable to penetrate
Oh
the
my
defense
god.
lines in Zaporizhia. However, the cost of it for Ukrainian army would be dramatic. That's why for now Ukrainian army moves slower, but according to some
big
official
Japs
information,
in front
we
the
should wait for the main strike very soon. Today, one of the advisors
Donetsk
of President
region
Zelensky
has
office
some
said
big
that
Japs from the Ukrainian army
has
continuing
found
to
a weak
push. Oh,
spot.
sorry, I'm talking over this guy, but there are some big Japs on the. This is deep state right here, and you look at that. That's what I was talking about yesterday. These Japs are doing. You know that? Look at that. It's pushback right there. You see this little intake right here, right? It wasn't here for like 2 days ago, and I was looking. I was doing this right. I couldn't see what the update was. I was going back and forth. Oh, what's the update? Because when you're up here, you know, you're not really seeing anything happening right there. But then I look down, and it's the Russian army, guys. They made an advancement. Hey, there we go. That's pretty much the only advancement they've made. Oh wow, that's impressive, guys. That's definitely indications that they're winning. Meanwhile, Ukraine, right? I mean, every day from now on, I've been pounding and pushing back. Look at that. Look at that. You know, every day now, pretty much every day. There we go. That was one day. That was one day. That. You know, so good pushbacks, good jabs from Ukraine. We're seeing it all around. Don't get your hopes down or anything. We're seeing it all around, and it's looking good. It is looking good. The jabs are coming in.
Russian defense, and will put all of the forces there. I wonder where's the place, because this is the most protected area on the front lines from what I can say. Here could be, but without the bridges it would not be a successful counterattack. Maybe over here, because there is just single, maybe two defense lines in this area. As for the Bakhmut, Russia built the defense lines behind the city, so we may try to take it under control with many of the forces, but the armed forces of Ukraine will face resistance moving further eastbound. For this day, speaking about the front lines, especially on the south, everything more or less silent. But I guess this silence is before the huge thunderstorm. However, everything is still boiling. Today I published some of the videos on my Telegram channel how the 3rd Assault Brigade of Ukrainian Armed Forces had taken some of the ground near to the Bakhmut area. I cannot show them on this platform. For that, please check out my Telegram channel. It is available in the video description just below. I use it to publish up-to-date information out there, so if you want to be quick updated on situation in Ukraine, join my Telegram. Also, there is the fighting in Klishivka for those heights. It is happening just right now. And Russia sent more reinforcements to the northeast part, where they are still keeping this some sort of the hump, but Ukraine tries to.
So I'm gonna eat something in the background here. You're gonna have to watch then, so I'm gonna eat my things back here.
Has begun, but it's better not to trust the information that is coming from the Russian media or Russian military bloggers. Sometimes they may publish the truthful information, but usually it's just 10% from everything they say. Speaking about the Wagner military camp that was built in Belarus, we have the photos right from the facility. More or less it looks like the concentration camp. The building process is still ongoing, but those are just simple tents. Those been used in Belarus army before, and they started to use it to build the military camp for Wagnerites. This is how the bed looks like, and I would say that you cannot live in those conditions for a very long time. Even with some sort of the oven system during the winter time, it would be very cold out there. So maybe it is the temporary solution for Wagner army. Maybe they will be used very soon somewhere, or maybe they would be replaced to other facility, because this is for sure temporary one, and the beds that they were able to build are not straight, they're curved. I call this place the Wagner chicken coop. We have the military map update from different resources. It says that Ukrainian army is now holding the positions close to the very important heights, and in future they will go to Klishivka. Klishivka itself is located on a lower ground compared to surrounding terrain, so it would be much easier for Ukrainian army to get control over this particular village, but only after we take the very important heights over there. After Klishivka, we may use this road to go, for example, to Bakhmut, or we may try to go to Opetne. I would say that the second variant is more profitable. This morning, Russia struck the building in Sumy, causing lots of the devastations to that area. Unfortunately, 2 of civilians lost their lives because of the Russian attack. There is the Ukrainian intelligence facility not far away, but Russia aimed towards the residential building, causing lots of the devastations. We even have the strike itself on the video, but I'm unable to publish it here. As you see, the Shahid drones cause lots of the devastations. They have around 50 kilograms of the warhead. According to the latest information, Iran, together with Russia, started to build a new factory to produce those Shahid drones in Russian Federation, unfortunately. President Zelensky gave the interview to CNN Resource. He said that without Crimea, the war wouldn't be over. The Ukrainian officials start to say that some of our allies are pushing Ukraine for some sort of the negotiations with Russia. They say that Ukraine may take the ground, let's say, till Crimea, but after that should start negotiations. It is not what the majority of the Ukrainian society wants, and it's not the policy of our government and president. So I guess that even without the military support from some of the allies that would say, okay, the fight is over, try to talk, Ukraine would continue the planned liberation of our territory. But from what I see, that our main allies will continue to support Ukraine in its fight for independence. By the way, for me, it is already 4th of July, the Independence Day of our main ally, I would say, the United States of America. Congratulations, fellow Americans. Alright, one of the Ahmad battalion commanders was demilitarized today. His name was Yevgeny Pisarenko. It's quite Ukrainian surname. Nevertheless, he was the Chechen commander and now he is gone. Where it was done, probably near to Marinka. Good news from Denmark and Germany, they will send more Leopard tanks to Ukraine, this time Leopard 1A5. We're gonna receive dozens of those tanks in nearby weeks. That's awesome. Not a good news,
Yeah,
really. There is the
Denmark.
problem with
Yeah.
the pilot training on F-16s. It should have begun the last month, at the beginning of the last month, but it hasn't begun yet. Our allies are saying that they are still making the preparations for the training, but June was negotiated, not July or August before. In that case, it will postpone the delivery of the airplanes to Ukrainian side, which is not really good. In that case, I might say that they will be ready till next year, after the winter season is over. Minus one more K-52. Probably I'm gonna record the video why this helicopter is not as good as Russia is saying about it. It's not even close to be competitor for Apache. There's the video published saying that it is the British-made AS-90 self-propelled artillery system. Actually, it's hard to say because there is not much left from this vehicle and the crater is just astonishing. What Russia used to target this position, probably the aviation bomb. Even now, the Ukrainian army goes on offensive missions, it loses much less vehicles compared to the Russian side. It's a miracle, my friends. Because usually the attacking side loses 3 times more equipment and infantry compared to defending side. The information about the losses comes from the Oryx resource. They analyzed the pictures that were taken from the front lines by drones or by the soldiers and then publish all the information to the big table. Here you see that the data is taken for just 3 of the days and unfortunately Ukraine lost 1 more Leopard 2A6 tank. But the Russian side lost many more of the tanks. This is the satellite image of the destroyed oil facility in Voronezh. Then Wagner forces took the area. Russia launched the rocket attack on their own oil facility because they were afraid that Wagner might refuel their tanks using this oil storage. They lost at least 3 of the oil reservoirs and many were damaged. Probably this is the photo of the Leopard 2
Imagine being so scared of your own paramilitary group that you're gonna blow up your own oil field.
Unfortunately, as you can see, the tank
imagine being so scared that you're gonna blow up your ground. Scorched earth tactic. And he did it. They did it against Napoleon. You know, remember, the Russians did it against Napoleon. Napoleon put together the largest group of military men in 18 something. Sorry. '1812. And at that time, he put together the largest fighting force ever seen. 600,000 men, right? Guns, weapons, heavy infantry. At the time, the Russia was completely unprepared, you know. So when they got to Moscow, what did they do? They burned the city down, you know, and the city behind it meant also that the whole land up into Moscow they burned down. Why? Because Napoleon didn't depend on ammo crates. He depended on living off the land. But if he couldn't live off the land, he needed his heavy ammo crates and his heavy, sorry, not ammo crates, food crates. And they were heavy. They take time to move. So if you look at that aspect, say, you know, scorched earth theories, that's a new thing for Russia. They did it in World War II. They did it in, well, Napoleon Wars, so many years before. So, to me, thinking about that would indicate the same thing has just happened again. And it indicates the Russians aren't afraid to just burn their own things up and get rid of things they don't need, or they say they don't need it. You know, burn down the Moscow just so the enemy doesn't get the city. Burn down the land so the enemy can't eat off it. And what do we do afterwards? We don't care. We're rich. And the Tsar was rich, right? They don't care. All these people that depended on that plant to work and their money, you know, their food, all that. They don't care. They just blow it up, wait for things to happen, and then when it does blow up, they say, "Oh, well, it was just that's what orcs do," you know. And then they say, "Oh, we had to do it so the enemy doesn't destroy our lands. You had to destroy your lands so the enemy doesn't destroy your lands." And we see the irony in that, right? Anyways, that's just me. Yeah, I mean, Cuba, right? I think what you're mentioning, Raymond, is Cuba. And Cuba was certainly, destruction level threat was much larger, but health risk and, you know, the mere ability to die. I mean, this right here, the plant, and this would be, yes, 10 times worse than what happened at Cuba. Listen, very well could be. So, you know, shit. So many planes over Europe right now. It is insane. I'm going to keep an eye on the Doomsday plane. You also know the Forte's up. I'm going to keep an eye on that, see where it goes. Put this over here and I'm going to stable it up like this. We're going to watch a little bit less what's left
of
Dennis.
Shared on internet. How it got there, I'm out of clue, because I got it from my internal chats, but now you can see it all around the Twitter. The photo was shared already, so I may speak about it. It's the personal story of mine. It's about my friend Dmitry. You may see the message for Dmitry from Ukraine International Airlines and friends. Dmitry, my friend who used to be the pilot in Ukraine International Airlines, lost his life last week because of the Russian missile strike. So it was the revenge Storm Shadow went on the Russian positions, presumably in the area where he was attacked from. Here you may also see the
Wow.
adapter of the Storm Shadow rocket, so you cannot put it directly under the wing of Sukhoi Su-24 because Su-24 is the Soviet airplane. Well, this adapter, from what I was able to find, was cut from the Tornado airplane. Pilots also need to have the special electronics installations in the cockpit to launch this cruise missile, so modification was done to the Soviet airplane. So a couple of months ago, then we started to receive those Storm Shadow cruise missiles. It was the final stage. The airplanes were already modified. Alright, now just a part of the crazy Russian propaganda that they shared in the elementary school. You can see some of the characters, Winnie the Pooh and the piggy chicken that illustrates the United States of America. So clearly here you can see some of the violence from the Winnie the Pooh and Piggy. I was looking at it thinking that something is really wrong with those pictures. It's not the fight, it's not the chicken, it's the classic Russian stupid propaganda, but
Wow.
the piglet has the beard. So he really looks like the soldier from the Ahmad battalion, Chechen soldier, Muslim, pig. That is the most cringy thing in this picture. My friends, now press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my job, there will be some of the links in the video description just below for you to do so. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and also the sponsors of my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your awesome help. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.
Have a great time to you as well. Thank you, Dennis, for the amazing update on the Ukrainian front lines. Now, what are we? Oh, we got two. Okay, let's look at Sumy District, and we got some more explosions report. Something's definitely going on there. Let us see. Let us see. I'm gonna get a video to show you after that as well. If you guys want to see a video after that. Show you a video. I'm gonna show you a video. Explosion reported in the Some district. Russian shelling. Russian occupied shelling in the district. All right. Oh, big boy explosion. Holy shit! Look at that. Look at that. That's yesterday. Oh well, July 3rd. Actually, but this was in Sumy District. It's had some numerous explosions in these areas. Look at that. That is a big bomb. That is a big boy right there. Wow. For July, 21 minutes ago and 2 hours ago. So, Russian shelling, it seems. What? You can see.
Is the Kremlin trying to explain away the rebellion of its largest paramilitary group? And
Give me this guy.
is Ukraine preparing for more offensive operations? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It is July 4th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, first, let's talk about the control map. Now, they're reporting just minor frontline updates. You can see these look like more like refinements of control. You can see there's a little bit of Russian forces remaining in this forested area here, as well as part of this windbreak here outside of Kurdyumivka. Other than that, we're looking at really just very minor updates, nothing really confirmed, though we know that changes in control do not necessarily reflect the intensity of the combat. As we've talked about, there's considerable combat going on across the front lines. Reportedly, Ukrainian troops are also pushing in the direction of Lyman, right? Crimea Lyman here, a area that was very active during the Kharkiv offensive. And was one of really where Russian forces finally were able to establish some stability after the chaos of the Ukrainian offensive outside Kharkiv. You also, of course, have heavy fighting taking place in and around Bakhmut, Avdiivka, all along Zaporizhzhia, and reportedly an increase in the number of crossings of the Dnipro by Ukrainian forces. Now, if you're curious about what this combat's looking like, of course, you want to check out combatvetnews.com. This is the site that I launched because Patreon doesn't care for Ukraine content anymore. YouTube, of course, regularly demonetizing my content. So in order to continue to bring you guys combat analysis and to give you guys an opportunity to support what I do, keep me independent. As you know, a lot of sponsors won't even touch this content. But again, I believe that what I do is essential. And if you want to support me, this is the best way to do it. Any one of these tiers is going to get you access to an exclusive room on.
Okay. That's enough promoting right there, but that's enough.
Yeah, we saw was Ukrainian forces navigating a minefield. And, you know, it's one thing to see how slow progress is and kind of scratch your head. But when you see how devastating and challenging it is to navigate even a small minefield, you realize that the progress they've made is actually pretty incredible, right? And while I'm certainly critical of the planners and the generals who are running this operation, you see these videos and you're reminded that the Ukrainian forces fighting this fight are absolutely committed and absolutely just laser focused not only on accomplishing the mission but protecting each other. Anyway, be sure to check it out. The link is going to be up here, is in the description and in a pinned comment at combatvetnews.com. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about some of the politicking of the Kremlin. And you know that it was very embarrassing for Putin to have this rebellion come so close to Moscow with minimal resistance. So he's made a couple of efforts to shore up the support and perceived stability of the Russian state. So, one, Russian mill bloggers have actually seized on Ukrainian activity on the east bank of the Dnipro, calling for an increase in small river vessels and equipment to stop further Ukrainian advances. Okay, to be fair, Ukraine, these river crossings, they are not part of larger advances, at least not at this time as far as I can tell. Instead,
that river doesn't exist anymore.
What they are is, again, sort of small river vessels and equipment to stop further. Are not part of larger advances.
Right now, right? What he's looking at the Dnipro. That's a Novakhavka, right? It's the river. That's a river that was also blown, right? And that river pretty much does not exist anymore.
It's just not.
So these river crossings, if not soon, can be very possible. The ground itself, I don't know if it's stable enough to drive tanks across, but it's certainly stable enough to walk across. So, yeah, I just want to say that.
Feasible. It would be far, far too obvious for anyone. But it is worth noting that in many cases...
I mean, yeah, he's right, you know, because you can't... If you're walking across, it's not like any defenses here. You can just stand up here as a Russian machine gunner and just shoot right down. Terrible idea, so... But, you know... There's not really in natural defenses. That's why I don't think they're gonna choose the river crossing.
This river is much more crossable than it had been, simply because the flooding that occurred when Russia or the dam, the Dnipro River Dam was destroyed by unspecified actors, Russia. Those floodwaters have receded, and largely it is more much easier to cross the Dnipro than it ever has been in this conflict. So, of course, looking at that, right, they really want to create this Dnieper flotilla, a special river military unit. But, that is going to divert precious resources away from Russia's main war effort.
Cuatro?
Now, what I thought was interesting is, of course, the Let's see if we can find it here. Of course,
Greyhound.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu reiterated, of course, rhetoric about the current state of the war in Ukraine, but did not name the Wagner Group or Prigozhin while discussing the, quote, provocation. Instead, he denounced the rebellion and credited the loyalty of the Russian military as the reason for the rebellion's failure. Again, I maintain, while the coverage was not clear, I never saw any evidence that beyond the Russian aerospace forces, who launched a number of strikes against the Wagner convoy and took a number of casualties, I never really saw any evidence that the Russian military was actively resisting the Wagner Group in any way, shape, or form. But I think they're trying to spin the narrative and to create the perception among the armed forces that they were loyal, that there was no defections, that there was no laying down their arms and flipping over to the Wagner Group. I think that narrative is really important because if members of the armed forces believe the armed forces supported Wagner, you're more likely they're going to feel emboldened to support future attempts at coups or simply support Prigozhin in other ventures. Very dangerous for the Kremlin. And also, we see Putin is on a tour now, reassuring Asian allies of Russia's stability after the mutiny. This is his first appearance at an international forum since the recent coup attempt. He emphasized that there was a united front demonstrated by Russian political circles and society in response to the mutiny, which, again, I think is mostly narrative and shaping, because we've also heard that there is an ongoing purge in political circles, removing people who were not part of the united front. So, sort of... you cannot have both of those things be true, right? That there was no cracks in the political circles and simultaneously punish cracks in the political circles. But what he's doing is aiming to publicly remove doubts about his authority on the world stage. After all, if
this is Russia we're talking about, we don't know. We have a lot of cracks in our system, but they don't exist. We have them, but they don't exist. But comrade, how does that make sense? That chat. So, and then they say, oh, comrade, how does that make sense? And then the other side says, it does, my comrade. Now shut up before I kill you, right? That's
if you are an Asian nation and you're looking to join a Russian-oriented or Russian-backed cooperative organization, well, you're going to think twice, because why would you want to align yourself with a state that can barely maintain its capital from even its own forces? Right? You're simply just not going to believe in that, right? You're going to look for other more stable allies like China or the United States. So anyway, guys, that's really all I had for you. Thank you so much for joining me as always, and a huge thank you to our Colonel tier members. You guys really are the ones who make this whole thing possible, and a huge thanks to our Lieutenant tier members. So many of you guys, and
Alright, Stan, you convinced me. This guy's alright. I'm gonna subscribe to him and I'm gonna keep up with it. I'm even gonna turn on the bell. I'm gonna keep up to date with this guy. He seems to know what he's talking about. Alright. Okay, you convinced me. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Oh, who's this amazing channel right here? Oh, this is an amazing channel. What who's this? what an amazing guy. I don't know. Well, that's an awfully funny thing to see, isn't it? Like a out of random nowhere, self-music's exclusion zone. Radio. Yeah, that's a very wow. Should Ireland join NATO? Well, if they want to, they have a neutral status, and they've had that since the long time. So forever. You guys heard this year about the Cuban guys, the Congo guys. Irish Congo soldiers, those who defended that radio tower. Bad boys. Irish. They haven't fought a war before, but they still goddamn won. So, show the result of what an Irishman can do. Chances are they're not going to get involved. You know, they're not really. I don't think they have any defense commitments. They're part of the UN. That's pretty much where they draw the line on many things. The UN peacekeeping force. That's what they were part of when they did the Congo tour back in the time when they were gonna be, yeah. Well, nowadays it's a lot of talk. Back in the day, the UN was not a joke. You know, back in the day, the UN kicked some ass. I gotta tell you that much. You know. Well, let's not panic. It certainly got a lot of influence from a lot of idiotic people. I agree on that one, Sam. Well, let's not lose our cool here, Raymond. Let's stay vigilant, as I like to say. Stay vigilant and stay ready. You know. So, we don't panic. We stick to the facts, and we know when stuff goes down if it does go down. I wish you could show movies. If I was an app, right? The thing about I get why you can't show movies because it would be like basically cheating, you know. But there's a function on Twitch where you can do like prime streaming, but you have to have the app itself. I wish they would add that on YouTube as well, so you could watch the movies. We could watch Chernobyl. You could also just put on. I mean, to get you guys like an insight on it, I want to put on like what happened to Chernobyl series maybe. Another E6 Mercury. Where's Phoenix? Ooh. Wait, hold up. Hey, we got 2 Doomsday planes up. That's pretty much. I think America has 3 in total. I don't see the E6, but I see the. Wait, you talking about? We're talking about this one. Are you seeing an E6? Maybe I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that E6, but I am seeing an E4. The Doomsday plane. All right. Okay. You meant to say E4. Okay. Because I didn't see any E6, so you meant to say okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But that's something. They have 4 in total. So four U.S. Doomsday planes is what they have in total. But that's definitely something. I think is that Tucson? Yeah. So yesterday we saw this one land here in Tucson. This was the plane we saw yesterday. This one is a new one. But yesterday we saw this Doomsday plane land in Tucson, and we see this one now flying away. So 2 Doomsday planes is definitely something. It's not like I haven't seen it before. I mean, if you get to that sort of point where you have 3 doomsday planes or even 4 doomsday planes, you know, something's going down, because that's literally all their doomsday planes. So thank you so much for that, San, reporting on the news, my friend. You're a fast man. You guys want to watch Chernobyl? Chernobyl's suicide. Oh, sorry, I can't say that. Elias. What do you mean? What do you mean? Nope. What do you mean? Nope. You don't want? You don't like the EU? You don't like NATO? You don't like the UN? What do you like? You like BRICS? What do you like, BRICS? Well, like GB, you like BRICS? You like the Russian alliance? Yes. I don't need no pro-Russian guys in my chat if that's what you're talking about. If that's your intentions, you don't need to be here, my friend. Let's see. KLW is live. Forte 10 disappeared from radar over Black Sea. I did see that. That means something.
That's why we will only fly with a military escort over the Black Sea. So one of two things is transpiring now. Either they have fighter escort and they have their transponders off, or there is no fighter escort and they're going out over the Black Sea alone. We don't know when they're going to blow it up. We just know that they're planning to blow it up. So we can't tell you the exact time and date. All we can tell you is they've been ordered to fill it with explosives. The people have filled it with explosives. People have seen it.
Yeah.
People have videotaped it. People have taken pictures of it. We have shared those videos. We have shared those photographs. We've shared those phone calls. So we know that they want to blow it up. I mean, we've shared the video of them loading explosives into the bridge.
Well, JB, I'll show you how much I need to be here.
With the soldiers talking
That
about
much. That's how much I need to be here.
We've shown the video that they put out on TikTok, that they put on Instagram, where they were celebrating. We showed the show where the guy is a vlogger, actually talked about it on his show that he was going to blow up the dam.
The Geico calendar cost a lot of money. Anyways, could be watching Lee, but that's also letting him do all the work. All it is some work, guys. Come on. Well, we're gonna be watching these guys because I like these guys. They're
Hour 0, April 25th, 1986.
This
Chernobyl
is
power plant,
Chernobyl.
located about 2 miles from Pripyat, a small town in northern
Yes, you
Ukraine.
are. But GB's he's gonna take a break. He just comes back and be annoying.
Clocks in for his
Well, then
night
he's
shift.
out.
A shift that will go down on record as one of the most controversial few hours in history.
I don't usually
creating a
bang
panic that will take over the
or
planet. The mood
time
among the
out, but
workers
if you're
is
being
joyful.
annoying,
It's a beautiful night after a
telling me
sunny
off,
day,
I don't
and
need
the
that.
May Day holiday is just around the
We're
corner.
on the same
At
side
home,
here.
sleeping in his small
Say
apartment.
one thing before we started. We're on the same side. The world's about to go under. It's only us. Okay? It's only us. You go against me, you go against everybody else. I don't care. The thing is, if you go against and you go against NATO, you go against all this. Listen, we only have us right now. If the world's about to go under, I'm gonna count on us. You know? We gotta stick together. Oh, hello, D23. How are you? On your break? Are you at work? Well, you're at work, then,
Is it-
obviously.
His wife,
that's
Natasha,
a stupid
and his
question.
2-year-old son, Kirill. The family is well taken care of, and although
How are
Natasha
you?
has some
Welcome,
misgivings
welcome.
about the safety of nuclear power, only recently those fears were diminished when she heard a Soviet official on TV saying nuclear meltdowns just don't happen. Or if they do, he said, they might be one every 10,000 years. In just over 24 hours from now, people who Natasha knows will be out on the street looking into the sky at a dazzling laser beam shooting into the stars at exactly the same.
I mean, update-wise, we're getting the same news about Russian telegrams and all that stuff, saying that they're going out and going in, they're going doing other stuff and all that stuff. So, ThyroSafe is 65 mg. Which one are you talking about now, Raymond? What are you talking about? Yeah, 300 clock in right there. On Save Ecomat right there. Look at that, 300. But update wise, you know, we're seeing the Russia's telegram saying that Ukraine is going to blow it up. So and there's a staff meeting right now talking about how. Sorry, between Zelensky and his staff, there's a staff meeting right now talking about it. So as of now, quiet on the Western Front, I would say, but there's certainly more and more indications. Now we have Lee, who's live as well. He's talking about Forte 10 that disappeared, and he was also saying that they only have escorts over the Black Sea, and if it went over there alone, if the Russians has done something stupid again. But you know, it did get pretty close to Crimea. It was up here, around here. But we'll see about that. There's 2 Doomsday planes up right now over the U.S. Not yeah, obviously, yeah, blaming someone means that usually they're going to do it. So we got 2, okay, they're not there anymore. They turned off their transponder, it appears. What we know of, is that there's 2 Doomsday planes up over the U.S. right now, and they were there just a second ago, and oh, we still have the 1 Doomsday plane here. He might have turned off his transponder. Well, what we know of, there's 2 Doomsday planes up, and now we got 4810 that just went down. Or we don't know if it went down or if it just turned off its transponder, but something fishy is going on there. KOW in World News is covering that if you want to go check that out. But I'm going to be watching infographic show on the Chernobyl nuclear explosion. So we're going to be watching that so we get like an insight on that. And yeah, that's it's a quick update for everyone who didn't know. So yes. And Blame Game will listen as well. If Russia says Ukraine is going to do something, it's often because they're about to do something, you know?
Husband will be in a party of 4 men who were exposed to deadly amounts of radiation after being sent to assess the damage at Chernobyl's
Did I speak too
reactor
fast? You
number
guys are going to have to
4.
live for that.
Will die in excruciating pain. Their bodies destroyed from within. Alexander will survive because he doesn't enter.
Oh, sorry, I almost had my mic on there. Are you like a smart guy? And I didn't mean to say it like that. Are you like are you a doctor or you because if you are, you know, please do share your knowledge. That's what I'm trying to point out. Please do share your knowledge. We want to know about that. We'll be back later. Atlas Shelter. Oh, okay. Is that is that a website you're reading up? What is that? What is Atlas Shelter? Sorry, I'm not aware of that. Is it a Atlas Survival Shelters. Is that what you're talking about? Okay. I'll see you later, D323. Thanks for stopping by. But yeah. Thanks for the knowledge there.
Enter the reactor hall, but only holds a door for his friends. The arm and leg and shoulder that he uses will later turn black. He'll tell Natasha, with what he thinks could be his dying words, that he's been turned into a mutant. Alexander will see things the communist government will want to keep secret. Death by radiation is a monstrous thing to behold, and the Chernobyl power plant disaster will be one of the most monstrous events in world history. At the heart of the matter is a design flaw that the Soviets will not want to admit. What the capitalists can do, they can do just as well, or so they think. One thing you don't want at a nuclear power station is a total shutdown. If that happens, things can heat up, and if an explosion follows, what you have is a massive leakage of deadly radiation. So every reactor at Chernobyl has 3 backup diesel generators that will kick in if power is suddenly lost. The Problem is, it takes 60 to 75 seconds for them to fully power the coolant pumps. The theory, and it's only a theory, is that the slowing turbines after being turned off will create enough electrical power to keep the pumps running during that gap before the generators are running at capacity. To know if this works, they need to do some tests. The first came in 1982 and it wasn't successful. They tried again in 84, and again the results were not good. Then they tried in 85, and yet again a message was sent back to Moscow saying things hadn't gone as planned. This was not what the bigwigs wanted to hear, and they made that known. The pressure was on. Excuse the pun. The reactor had already been slowed down to run at about 25% of its normal power. Importantly, the reactor's emergency core cooling system had been disabled, so it didn't get in the way of seeing if the turbines can power the generators. More importantly, some of the night shift workers that have arrived haven't been properly briefed about the test. The reason is the test should have happened on the day
Thanks
shift,
for that, Sam.
but there was a power outage earlier in the day at a coal plant, so Chernobyl had to keep running at full power to give people their electricity. To fully appreciate this story, you need to know how we get the electricity from a nuclear power plant. So here we'll give you the very basics in layman terms. Inside the reactor, neutrons split uranium atoms, and that makes more neutrons. They split more atoms, and we have more neutrons, and so on and so on. This is a chain reaction, and it produces a crap load of heat. You harness the heat and make it turn water into steam, and the steam runs those turbines that we already talked about. As they move, all this energy becomes electricity that ensures people like Natasha can cook, clean, eat, see, watch TV, and stay warm in winter. All that heat and energy, of course, can be a bit unstable, so you have to control mechanisms to make sure there isn't an overload. If not, the chain reactions would just keep going and become highly dangerous. Control rods are the things used to slow down the chain reactions. These are a bunch of rods that can be inserted into the reactor in different numbers or in different lengths, allowing the nuclear technicians to control the rate of the nuclear chain reaction. They're made out of special materials that can absorb neutrons, so if all does suddenly go to hell, you will at least hope these rods can come and save the day. No one at Chernobyl doubts their safety, or at least the less experienced operators don't. Hour 1. Now you know the night shift isn't properly prepared for the test, and it might be their fault that the power out of the plant falls too much at 28 minutes past midnight on April 26th. They try to increase power, but something's wrong. They've never seen this before. This is partly because there's been a buildup of xenon during the test. You don't need to know what xenon is, and to be frank, it's too complicated to fully explain, but when there's a buildup of the stuff, it can cause xenon poisoning. Xenon would usually burn away when the reactor is at full power, but the slowdown has caused a buildup, and the buildup has caused a further slowdown. This is not good. It's because of this overabundance of xenon that even when the guys take most of the control rods out, 200 from 206, they still can't get enough power. As you know, by taking out the rods, they should get more power since the nuclear reaction isn't hampered. Doing this, though, can be pretty dangerous. In fact, they shouldn't be doing this in the first place. A young operator gets on the phone and asks, "What shall I do?" In the program, there are instructions of what to do, and then a lot of things are crossed out. The guy on the other end pauses and says, "Follow the crossed out instructions." Hour 2. At around 1:05 a.m. they have power stabilized, although the reactor is running well below what the shift supervisor, Anatoly Dyatlov, thinks is ideal. One day he'll lie and say he wasn't in the room when mistakes were made, but he was. Don't forget his name. The reactor is certainly running at less power than is safe for a test, but they carry on anyway on the orders of Dyatlov. He doesn't want a black mark against his name in the form of another failed test. At 1:24 and 4 seconds, the test really starts, meaning they're going to simulate a power outage, and as we have explained, see if the slowing turbines can power the coolant pumps before the generators can turn on. This is when all hell breaks loose. What happens is a sudden and massive increase in power. It is dangerously high, and this is now very serious. So serious that someone hits the scram button. At Chernobyl, this was the AZ5 button. It's an emergency off switch, which makes all the control rods drop down to stop the nuclear reactions. This is a big mistake, and one which exposes a few of the design flaws at Chernobyl. The rods have a graphite tip, which in short actually increases the reaction rate, not the opposite as wanted. The boron in the rods reduces reactivity, but not the tips. As so many rods hit the reactor at the same time, there's a huge surge in reactivity. The operators don't know what they've done. The graphite tips are fixed in position, and the heat creates a massive amount of hot steam, in effect, a bomb. The operators are not aware of this, or they wouldn't have dropped the rods into the reactor already surging with power. The man in the reactor hall watches as this happens and is shocked to see those 200 rods and their caps, each weighing 772 pounds, jumping up and down with the reactor lid. It's as if they're being pushed by the power of God. The output of the reactor is now at 10 times the power it should be, and that's it. Bang. The bomb goes off. The world will never be the same again after this moment. The explosion causes the reactor's steel lid, weighing about 10,000 tons or
Thousands
2,000
of murders.
medium-sized male
Thousands,
African
and
elephants
you got away
to
with
fly
it.
off and go straight through the roof.
I mean, yeah, 10
Shortly
years.
after,
but
there's another big explosion, likely down
thousands
to a
of
buildup of
murders.
hydrogen from zirconium steel reactions. Bits of radioactive material and fuel are sent everywhere. Fires rage and the core is exposed to the world. Right now, it's not obvious to most of the men in the plant what's happening. They all think the reactor is still intact, only because reactors normally don't just blow up. The roof is destroyed, the floor is in pieces, radioactive materials are lying about everywhere. The air is filled with clouds of dust, pieces of radioactive graphite are flung great distances, and radiation is now spilling into the atmosphere. To say this is bad would be putting it lightly. Soon a few men will know this, but one that knows it best will be too dead to tell the story. Right now, Alexander is in a state of shock. Just a moment ago, he was in his office with some colleagues reading some documents, but now everything around them is shuddering on the brink of what feels like imminent collapse. His first thought is, this is war. The USA has attacked us. He's not alone in thinking this. What else could have happened? The phone rings. It's the guys from building number 3. Bring some stretchers, they shout over the noise. Alexander takes off down some dark corridors in search of the men he knows are the closest to the explosion site. As he gets closer to a deafening hissing sound, he finds his buddy. His face is horribly disfigured, so much so that he knows only who it is when he hears the sound of his voice. More people are injured, the guy tells Alexander. He then meets with Yuri Trigup, who's come from control room number 4. He tells Alexander that Dyatlov has asked for the emergency high-pressure coolant water to flood the area. Dyatlov still doesn't know that the reactor has blown, and he won't even believe it when he's told. Now waist deep in water, Alexander and a few other men try to get to the coolant taps, but through the door they see the giant water containers have been blown apart. All the men are terrified. This is worse than they thought. Alexander looks around at what's left of the room and sees his colleague Kodyemchuk on the floor, dead. He then looks up at the roof, or where the roof was, and he sees something magical. A great beam of light
I
reaching
want
to
to say
the heavens.
that
It's
it's not
magnificent
possible
and
to post
beautiful.
links
And as things now stand, Alexander is not
in,
aware of how deadly it is.
in a channel.
For a few seconds, he just
You're
stares
not
at
even
what
I
he
can
doesn't
see,
know
but
are
you're
gamma
not able
rays
to
and
post
neutrons.
links.
The
So
more
you're
experienced
gonna have
colleague
to
who
tell
knows what it is grabs him by the shoulder and pulls him away, likely
the
saving
name of
his
the video
life doing
instead.
so. Alexander
That's all
sets
you
off
can
to
really
control
do.
room number 4, and there he meets the other guys who've been ordered by Dyatlov to go to the reactor hall and lower the control rods by hand. This is madness, sheer madness. Alexander screams, there is no reactor hall. The reactor has blown up. There are no control rods. They've blown up too. There's nothing left but space. The guys think he's crazy. Reactors don't explode. Alexander has to admit what he's seen. He's only seen from the bottom floor. The men tell him he needs to assess the damage from above to really know what's happened. The 4 of them head to the reactor hall upper floor. Little do they know this is a journey to the end of the night, for 3 of them anyway. As you know, Alexander only survives because he's the one that holds the door, being the strongest of the 4. When the guys come out, they say nothing can be done. They look at Alexander and tell him he's right. They say the reactor hall now looks like a volcano crater. They understand that radiation levels are high. Of course they do, it's their job. But they don't know just how high. They look at the radiation level reader device they have, the dosimeter, and that needle is off the scales. But they still don't know how bad they are because what is happening is so unprecedented. It's still only just after 1:55, but the firefighters are already outside on the scene. They too don't have much of an idea of the gravity of the situation, and they start and try to put out some of the fires that have started in various places. They're not even wearing protective clothing. Some of them will die in agony very soon. Others will pass away in a month, their immune systems destroyed by the radiation. Back in Pripyat, most people are in bed asleep, although a few are now standing outside, mesmerized by the ethereal beam in the sky they don't know is caused by irradiated air. They just think it looks cool. In the years to come, stories told in the West will say there was a large group of them on a bridge, watching radioactive blue dust fall like snowflakes. This will be called the Bridge of Death. The stories will say they all died, but none of that is true. There was no Bridge of Death. Most people were asleep at the time. In the end, most people who were close to the accident recovered, with just 20% of those who suffered acute radiation poisoning biting the dust. As you'll see again in this show, it sometimes pays not to believe everything you see on TV or in the newspapers. If you don't know, the way radiation poisoning works on the body is it takes out electrons from atoms in a person's molecules, destroying the chemical bonds and thus damaging tissue. We don't need to tell you that this is not good for the person. In short, after an hour or two, diarrhea and vomiting can occur as tissue in the GI tract breaks down and bacteria is let loose on the body. Bone marrow stops producing white blood cells and infections can't be fought. Since the person's immune system is incredibly weak, without an immune system, your countless bacteria eat you from within. This might take some time, so even though the person is covered in blisters and ulcers, they could start to feel okay after a couple days. But then a blood infection might lead to a deadly sepsis. For some at Chernobyl, even a blood transfusion and bone marrow transplant won't
It's not
help them.
uncommon. It's
One
like
of the townspeople
it's
is
like it's
Lyudmila Ignatenko.
not uncommon.
She's
Seen
already
a lot of
awake
planes
and
over
has
US,
seen the glow.
you know,
Her
but
husband Vasily is currently
with the
fighting the
news
fires.
right
the
now,
two are due to
it
have a
certainly
child
is-
in 2
it
months.
certainly is
Fast
a,
forward a week and his skin is covered in boils, and when he turns on his pillow, he leaves skin and hair behind. The
You know,
lesions spread out, and some of his skin now looks like a white
wow
film.
factor.
At one point, he
Loathsome,
asks
as you say.
Lyudmila for a mirror, but when he sees his own disfigured face, he cries out in
A
horror.
river joint down
Vasily
here,
will be buried
turning
in a
around,
zinc
gonna be.
casket under cement.
They've been
His
doing it
body's
sometimes.
still
They fly
radioactive.
like along the
Lyudmila is
Ukrainian
lucky
border
she
like
even got
that.
to see him. A nurse told her it was too dangerous. She looked at Lyudmila and warned, "If you start crying, I'll kick you out right away. No hugging or kissing, don't even get near him. You have half an hour." Lyudmila will have much to say about this in time to come. She'll also lose the child. It'll be born with a congenital heart defect and liver cirrhosis and will die after a few hours. Many people will criticize her for this, asking why she visited her dying husband. The radiation from him contaminated her and the fetus, they'll say. But you can't just catch radiation from a cleaned person, and there's no proof this is how the baby died. A falsity that will be talked about for years is the baby somehow took the radiation and that saved her. This is not scientific at all, but it makes a good newspaper copy and great TV. The consequences of this misinformation.
Yeah, it's not even remotely possible. But that's not even remotely possible. But the story behind it was, you know, she did live in the city of where the radiation was. So, yeah. But this also puts a good point on what I was trying to say before. The amount of radiation that was, I live here in National. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it's not like this isn't stuff we've seen before, and it's like sometimes they wild up things and then nothing happens, and then it doesn't happen, and then it does happen, you know. Like, yeah, but you know, the factor that she was exposed to a well amount of radiation, not only from the man, which is, you know, you don't touch a person with radiation and then you irradiate it, but they do glow off. At least that's their understanding, was that they do glow off somewhat of radiation, but I don't think that was the idea behind it, at least. But she did live in the city. She lived in Pripyat, and that could have been the reason why. But it also, not only but you gotta imagine there was birth defects in Denmark when Chernobyl happened, and in Sweden and stuff like that, and that people were talking about that could have been from radiation from the plant. So if that happens in Denmark, imagine what happens to a person who lives in the city of where the nuclear power plant blew, you know. So you gotta imagine that she must have taken a good amount of radiation herself, is the point of that.
Will mean the lives and lights of hundreds of thousands of babies are put out before they get going. We should say, though, that while seeing her dying husband wasn't the reason for the baby dying, it was very likely radiation exposure from somewhere else that led to the death. Back in 1986, the nurse that told Lyudmila not to touch her husband couldn't have known radiation doesn't spread to people after they've been cleaned and are out of their contaminated clothes. It's not contagious. We should also tell you that a person's hand can't suddenly burn when they touch the hand of a contaminated person. That's TV, not reality. One of the firefighters turns to his friend and jokes, saying, "There must be an incredible amount of radiation here. We'll be lucky if we are all still alive in the morning." As the survivors will later testify, they were never told the reactor was on fire, only that there were regular fires to put out. Some of them kicked the radioactive blocks, even picking them up with their hands after they doused them. They would have never done those things had they known the truth. One of the firefighters who survived explained how little they knew, saying some of his colleagues went up to the roof to work from there. Soberingly, he said, then those boys who died went up to the roof. Vashchik, Kolya, and others. Volodya Pravik, they went up to the ladder, and I never saw them again. Hour 3. Local officials have already arrived on the scene to discuss what's happening. When they're told, they're not told the entire
Hey, you
truth.
see that sand? I don't know if it's still down. Something's weird's going on because this right here doesn't mean, yeah, I mean, people up there, you know, when they get on the roof, that they had to toss the graphite down into the reactor again. It was almost worse than being a tunnel rat in Vietnam, you know. But this means apparently one point right here where they had their transponder on, just a little prick right there. But do I have a cellar? I don't have a cellar. No. This could be that, yeah. Could be jamming. Sometimes this is also when it's turned off, it's transponder and flight tracker just goes off where it thinks it is. Yeah, something's definitely up with it. So, you know,
That's because only a handful of people right now truly understand that the reactor has blown up, and some of them are now burned, vomiting. So, not in a meeting explaining
Yeah.
what they've seen. Dialov still thinks what he always has, that a water tank is blown up and the radiation currently making some people very sick is from contaminated water. He just can't believe that the core would blow, even though some people are starting to realize that a water tank blowing up wouldn't lead to so much destruction. Hour 4. More firemen arrive to help with the fires. The last thing anyone wants is Reactor 3 to set on fire, which is looking like a possibility. It's soon safely shut down, but Reactors 1 and 2 keep going until the next day. Inside Reactor 4 is now a molten reactor core, a large graphite and concrete slag that's burning at around 1200 degrees Celsius. Hour 5. Another meeting is held, now with experts. Some ask about the high levels of radiation, proffering
what are we talking about right now? 2 miles from the end of the runway if one hits some toast. Are you talking about like a plane? What are you talking about? Nukes?
a theory that the core might have blown. Nonsense, says Dyatlov, even though he's not far from keeling over himself. A second later, he throws up.
I am
A decision's
biased
made that no one believed the town.
in that
Not
sense,
yet.
yeah.
Perhaps they can be evacuated in 3 days.
Shelter.
All the
Okay.
phone lines are blocked in case anyone starts spreading rumors,
No, not really.
which one
I
official
mean,
calls
there's some
misinformation
bunkers
that can
in
negatively
a
affect the
forest
Soviet Union.
nearby.
Police soon start
That's pretty
blocking
much
roads,
it. That's pretty
just
much
as
it. Some
soldiers pass
bunkers,
them
some
on
World
their
War
way
II
to
bunkers
help with the cleanup job.
nearby.
Hour 7.
I would go to.
At 6:35 a.m., most of the fires are out. But by no means does this mean the problems are over. They're only just beginning. Real horror is taking place inside that reactor. A man who understands this horror is Valery Legasov, the deputy director of the Kurchatov Institute of Atomic Energy, and the man that will lead the commission to deal with the accident. He'll also be the one that testifies during the tribunal, and as you'll see, he's the guy that exposes the Soviet Union's shortcomings when it comes to producing nuclear energy. Hour 8. He's called on the phone. Soon, he's at the airport with the man who will manage the crisis, Boris Sherbina. In time, both these men will suffer from radiation poisoning, but for now, they still don't know exactly what happened. Hour 13. It's around midday when they attend the meeting to
Warnings.
discuss matters.
Oh, there we are.
Legasov
Now
already
it's
knows
back.
about the people in the hospital suffering from severe radiation burns, so he and others agree the town needs to be evacuated. Hour 30. Legasov is driven in an armored personnel carrier to assess the damage for himself. It's bad, very bad. He says they have to get that main fire under control or radiation will be taken by the wind for many, many miles. Many parts of Europe, not just Ukraine, are at risk. This is a disaster of unbelievable proportions. It's agreed that dropping sand and boron on the reactor fire from helicopters might be the best way to go, even though Legasov knows it might not work. They have no choice, he says. Something needs to be done right now. The military will help with the cleanup, and many men will be expected to risk their lives. These people will become known as the liquidators, and many of them will suffer long-term health effects from their work. Hour 33. Sherbina gets on the phone with Moscow and reports, "We've measured the radiation. Pripyat needs to be evacuated immediately. The station is close by, and it's emitting..."
It's a horrid image right there, right? I mean, that's the kids right there. You know, this is in Pripyat. This is recorded in Pripyat. You know, just kids standing around, not understanding anything. I said before, the scene from Chernobyl where they were looking into the sky and they saw that dust falling, that what they thought was snow. Babies getting on their face, the radioactive dust just falling on their face. Babies
radioactive
can't.
contagion, and
This
people
is
in the
in
city
Pripyat
are living
itself.
it
This
up
is
full
quarter from
blast.
Pripyat.
Weddings
So
are going on. Levels of radioactivity in the town are
Yeah,
rising at
and
an
when you're
alarming
that close,
rate.
you're
Earlier in the day,
exposed
the
to
level was
many
between
levels
14 and 140
radiation a
milliroentgens
second.
per hour,
And
but
a
that's
minute,
gone up to 180
millions.
to 300 milliroentgens, and in areas closer to the plant, 600. 50 milliroentgens or more per year can be dangerous, with 400 milliroentgens per year killing you. The people in that town now have a much higher risk of developing cancer, and they have no idea about it. Still, in parts of the plant, the level has reached an astounding 20,000 milliroentgens per hour, and that's why some men died so soon after exposure. Hour
20,000.
36. Sometime in the morning, the first helicopters start dropping the sand and boron on the fire. It's a perilous job. Getting too close to the hole where the reactor was can lead to acute radiation sickness. It's dangerous enough anyway, as can be
I
seen
put a
when one
message in there.
helicopter collides with a chain and crashes, killing the men on board.
I don't know if he's
Hour
gonna listen
38.
to me.
The evacuation begins.
I can tell him.
From speakers all over the town comes a woman's voice, saying the same thing over and over again. Attention, attention. In connection with the accident at the Chernobyl atomic power station, unfavorable radiation conditions are developing in the city of Pripyat. In order to ensure complete safety for residents, children first and foremost, it has become necessary to carry out a temporary evacuation. They're told to take everything with them that's important,
days, Gloria.
including all their personal documents. They don't know it, but they're never going back to their homes. Just 1 hour before
people in
this
the general
announcement,
area
families
are.
were enjoying the weekend. In the cafeteria, in the shopping mall, kids and their mothers were hanging
Thank
out
you, Charlie.
and eating ice
Appreciate
cream.
the update.
For them, it was just a normal day. There were kids playing on the bumper cars. Then suddenly, they were told the ride was over. Now they're taken aback when they hear the speaker say, "Comrades, on leaving your dwellings, please do not forget to close windows, switch off electrical and gas appliances, and turn off water taps. Please remain calm, organized, and orderly." What's
Yeah, roger
startling
that,
is
Penny.
these people have not
Need
been
more
told the
men
full
like your dad.
story and certainly aren't given any protective clothing. In spite of the
You didn't
fact
get
that
the
Soviet
email,
officials
yeah.
know about the dangerous levels of radiation, so far
Can't
they
do
don't
anything
want to
about
cause
that.
too much panic
If you're having
or
a
for the
problem
word
with
to get
it,
out
all I
about the
can
disaster.
suggest is
Hour
cancel your
42. Sherbina calls Premier Nikolai Ryshkov
I told
and
him.
explains there are no people left in Pripyat. There are only dogs running around. What happens to the mutts in the end is
okay.
awful, but that's a few
Time to
days
get
away
to
yet.
check
Sherbina's
it
not
out
exactly
first,
correct about all the people leaving. Some young folks have hidden so they can stay together in their parents' apartments and get it on
Yeah.
for once with some privacy. They don't care much about some
mean-
little radiation link. Old folks too have stayed behind or
The whole
some
thing of getting
they're
ready
well
and all
past the
that.
age of moving away, and they're
a
too
lot.
tough to worry about radiation. Some have lived well through wars, famine, and Stalin's reign of terror. Hour 46. 116,000 people
Fragos,
have left.
whoever
About
told you that,
1,200
stop
have stayed
listening to
behind,
them. They're fucking
mostly
lying
the
to you.
aged and many of them women. Babushkas, as they say in Russian. They have refused to budge. But it's hard to argue with a stubborn babushka. One woman, Hanna
yeah, okay.
Zavorotnya, is given a stern order to leave after she's been found by a soldier. She looks him square in the face and says, "Shoot us and dig the grave, otherwise we're staying." After listening to the soldier explain the danger, she replies, "Radiation doesn't scare me, starvation does." The world still doesn't know the extent of what's happened, and you can be sure the Soviet leaders are determined to try to keep matters within a fairly small circle. The KGB is told to stop the spread of panicky rumors and unreliable information getting out, although nothing they can do to prevent what happens next. Hour 52. The Soviets get word that Sweden has detected radiation, and it has been identified as coming from Chernobyl. On top of this, soon the USA will have satellite photos of the disaster. The news carries as fast as the radiation, with
Happens when
presenters
you
all
have
over the
new-
world
when you
telling
have the
people
old
that this
satellite
major
things.
accident, something that's never happened before on this scale, could mean dangerous radiation being carried from Ukraine to other European cities. As the children of Chernobyl settle into their new surroundings, school kids in Germany are kept home in fear of radiation poisoning. Panic reverberates from North America back to Europe and into Asia. Hour 55. It's not until the evening that the official news is shown on Russian TV. A report states there's been an accident at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. One of the nuclear reactors was damaged. The effects of the accident are being remedied. Assistance has been provided for any affected people. An investigative commission has been set up. More Russian news follows, and this time with in-depth discussions. Not surprisingly, experts talk about the 3 Mile Island nuclear accident of the USA and some other American nuclear mishaps. What the news doesn't talk about is what could happen at Chernobyl right now. A new kind of disaster could be in the works. Hour 58. It was thought the water tanks were empty, which isn't actually the case. To make things worse, fire hoses have been filling the place with more water. Soviet scientists are now saying that if the smoldering graphite, remember heated to about 1200 degrees Celsius, hits the water, there could be another massive explosion, even bigger than the last one. And that could mean Europe being hit with more radiation. They don't know it yet, but it's highly unlikely this explosion will happen. They think it could, and so tell 3 men who know the area inside and out that they'll have to drain the 20,000 tons of water through a sluice gate. These men know that there's a good chance they might not make it out, and even if they do, they might not live very long after. Hence the name the Chernobyl Suicide Squad. Alexei Ananenko, Valery Bezpolov, and Boris Baranov. Hour 60. Finding the valves in the dark is like finding a needle in a haystack, but they do it in the end. For them, it's just another day at work. They knew they'd be fired if they didn't do as asked, and unlike what will be said in years to come, they didn't
Suicide
get any
Squad.
reward for their work. As we've explained, there will be a lot of Western misinformation flying about in regard to the Chernobyl disaster. One falsity told time and again is that these 3 men all died shortly after they succeeded in their mission. But they didn't. They lived long, healthy lives after their time in the darkness of
If he
Chernobyl.
thinks it's nothing, then it's
Hour
nothing.
66.
He would be talking about
The Soviet
it. So,
government is now worried that the molten core will burn through the cement and get to the groundwater, thereby contaminating it and spreading radiation to the rest of Ukraine and into Europe, possibly making some places uninhabitable. A mining team is brought in to dig a huge tunnel below the reactor to act as a cooling system, and they're given respirators for the work.
Gallon
but it's
of
hard to
water per
breathe
day,
with them
that's a
on.
lot.
It's also very hot, but they don't work naked, as will be told in TV in the future. Again, it's a big job and a risky job for the 400 or so miners. The Soviets don't have to be too concerned because the core won't melt through the concrete. Obviously, they don't know that yet and have to take all precautions. Hour 100. The debris removal starts. At first, the 100 tons of radioactive material is said to be so dangerous that the men shouldn't go near it. They opt to use robots, but most of the robots break as soon as deployed due to radiation. The liquidators are chosen to do the job, men who are now camping close to the plant. Thousands of them are there, and in time, 600,000 or so of them will help with the cleanup. They're given protective clothing, but still told they shouldn't stay on the roof longer than 40 to 90 seconds, since the graphite and other materials up there are about as radioactive as you can get. Of the 5,000 men who do the job, some will go up as many as 6 times, but it's hard to say how many will have health problems because of it. Alexander, as you know, survives. He's flown to Moscow, his hair falls out and he finds it hard to breathe. His eyes, nose, and most of his face hurts, but then after a couple days, he and the other men all start to feel pretty good. As you already know, this doesn't mean they are good. One day, he's in pain again and he pulls back his bed sheets to see massive ulcers and necrotic skin on his shoulder, hip, and calf. All the bits exposed when he held the door open. He's turning black and feels like he's a monster, telling himself he looks like some kind of radioactive mutant. Luckily for him, his body accepts the skin grafts, and blood transfusions and bone marrow transplants do the rest. His arm is in really bad shape and will stay in bandages for years. In the hospital, every so often, someone walks into the room and tells him another of his colleagues is dead. One of them first goes blind, and then the infection in his blood finishes him off. For 2 months, Alexander lies in bed close to death, thinking about how it'll be when it's his turn to die. He will later be awarded medals for his bravery, but once he's better, he'll keep his Chernobyl experience mostly to himself. For many years to come, people in this part of the world will cross the street if they see a Chernobyl survivor walking toward them. These people, not educated about radiation, wrongly assume the survivors are contaminated. This fear has devastating consequences. Soon after the disaster, there are 150,000 elective abortions. Chernobyl, in fact, will make much of the world wrongly overestimate the dangers of producing nuclear power. This will go on for decades and is still a factor in some people's minds today when they think about nuclear energy. What or who is to blame for the disaster is the question that the Soviets and many other countries will be asking for some time to come. The investigations at the start will mostly blame human error rather than technical error, and pick out a few names to shame and send to prison, such as Mr. Dyatlov. Sure, he messed up a bit, as did others at the plant, but the fault lies in many people, going right up to the top brass in the communist government. 1 year later, it's now 1987, and Legasov is very ill from radiation poisoning and is in and out of the hospital all the time. He knows he's going to die, so he records himself on tape telling the whole truth about how
You
and
guys
why
are
this
in, you guys
disaster
in the
happened.
USA. I
Part of
mean,
tape
the
goes,
radiation
"The
in the
Chernobyl
USA,
disaster
I'd
is an
say it will
apotheosis,
be very
the
minimal.
pinnacle of all the mismanagement
It will
that
be
has
very
been carried out
minimal
for decades in our
radiation in
country.
the US.
When
That's
one
what I
looks
gotta
at the
point out
chain
to
of
you
events,
guys.
why someone acted in this way and another in that way, and so on, it's impossible to point
Best
to a
point for you
single
guys
culprit,
is to, if you
an
wanna
initiator of all the unpleasant events that led to the
try
crime,
some food,
because it's a chain that
some
links
food
to
and
itself.
stuff like that. You know
He
how they
finishes
have
off
field
by
rations and
warning
stuff.
that as he speaks,
You know,
the
those
Soviet Union
things
does
are
not have
quite
a
a
safe
compacted
nuclear
food.
power plant. Not because of the production of energy is dangerous in itself, but because too many mistakes have been made and too many corners have been cut. He says when you can't hold the state accountable, then the state is broken. 2 years later, in 1988, the day after the second anniversary of the accident, he is found dead in his apartment. Sherbina, who'd become a close friend, said Valery was too great. I loved him more than all the people I knew. He gave all of himself to work, to Chernobyl. He burnt out.
Yeah,
Of
I mean,
237 people that suffered acute radiation,
also see chances of the factor of the U.S. not being radiated much, but the U.S. simply being some going into survival mode, and some people go crazy, you know. But that's also just thinking. But yeah, we got two Portugal. I mean, that's drones right there. Two Portuguese drones. Portuguese. We got that. They are Portuguese. It goes down 5 there. Oh. Parisca Shibri. Saporicha. Numerous explosion has been nothing on that, but we'll keep to that. Was that just now? It's a bit time ago. Alright. People do tend to panic. That is true. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna end the stream now, and I'll be back. Alright. I think I'm gonna be back a bit later. Like I don't know, but later tonight. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So you guys have a good night, a day, and I will be back.